Hi, welcome to the second video in this restoration project of this Volkswagen Transporter T5. The first video we started the strip down on, and on this video we're doing the bodywork and cutting out all the apertures for the windows and so on. Now unfortunately we had a problem with the memory card on the camera, so we did lose some of the footage, so I'll maybe just take you around what we have to do. So we want to do a full colour change on this vehicle. So we've taken the bonnet and the wings off and the doors. I repaired this step. The rubber had been broken and the water was getting in, and it wasn't completely rotten, but it was very thin and it was just easier to replace the metal, a sort of more professional repair. These wings were really bad, the two side wings, lots of scores in them and so on. At the moment this is in my neighbour's workshop and he's getting rid of all the dents, and we're trying to get this line back again because it was really quite bad. But I made this a lot straighter. I did some of the body work, but it's not my expertise area, so I just let my workshop neighbour do that job. And around the back here, actually whatever was going on here, this was really rusty, and I think there's some of the footage from that, some pictures and so on. And basically got rid of all the rust off the floor, and we painted it with Hammerite. All this was bare metal, this rear pillar area, and there was lots of fiberglass on that, so we got rid of that and painted it with Hammerite. All the windows apertures, as I say, were cut out, and we got them ready for my window fitter guy. Again, this rear wing is the same as the other one. This is slightly not as far on as the driver's side one at the moment. The sliding door roller channel was pretty rusty, so I shot blasted it, and I used some rust eating gel stuff by Dynax called Deox C, and that just eats the rust. You put it on, you put some cling film over it, and eats the rust, and then you wire brush it and clean it out. And I had to do that 2 or 3 times, so it was a wee bit of a faff, but I'd rather there's no rust. And just lots of little tiny areas of repairs. And again, same story on the passenger side step. I put in some new metal there, and it's about triple skinned as well, so I spot welded all these with a spot welder, and I welded all these panels up, and hopefully you can't see that, but it's getting a trim on that anyway, so you shouldn't be able to see any repair work. Yeah, and obviously the same side, same story on here, no wing, 1 or 2 repairs on the pillar just with stone chips and so on. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Alright, time for a little progress update on the big project. I've been cracking on getting a lot of the bodywork repairs done on our really rough van, and I have managed to get some space in the workshop ready for the van to go in, because once it's painted it needs to go into my workshop, and that was no small task. So I have got lots of nice new doors. Well, they're not brand new, but they're an awful lot better than what's been on the van. So 2 new front doors, rear doors, it's the barn doors this one's got, tailgate, and I've got a new bonnet as well. This door here I have been stripping ready for paint, taking all the mechanism out. This is all the stuff from the back door. That is the near side rear back door, I think. Yeah, and that's got all that lock mechanism there, and a number plate light holder. So yeah, it also had one of those locks for vans system, so I've got to do all the prep from that. Got to get the badges off and so on. Anyway, we'll go to the van now. Still, I'm not doing the mechanicals until I've got the bodywork sorted, because it's just going to hold us up if we have the van out of action. So I welded new sections onto both side steps for the front doors, because quite often what happens is if people have been getting out of the vehicle, the rubber door seal gets a little bit worn, and this is exactly what happened in this situation, and the water got in between the seams, so I had to weld a new section in there, and in there actually used a part of a roof which had been cut off a campervan conversion. It was a good shape and it's good metal. I will be putting a step trim on there, because although it's been welded quite nicely, I think it's never going to be perfect. The rubber's going to cover all this little section here. I'll never get that perfect, and yeah, so that will cover up a multitude of sins, if you like. So we had a big issue in here. This is the sliding door channel, and again I had to do some welding. Again, the rubber was a bit wrecked, so I welded a whole new piece in there. It wasn't rotten through, but it was thin, and I would have just been chasing the rust forevermore. So I just spot welded it on. You can see the spot welds. My spot welds. And this channel here, going back to the channel, was really rusty, and I used some product. It's a gel product, and what you do is, well, initially I shot blasted it, but that was going to take forever and I couldn't get right into the end. So what I did was I used this gel. It's called Built Hammer Deox C, and what you do is you just paint it on basically and put some cling film on it, leave it for a few days, wire brush it, and it's eaten all the rust. And all I've done is I have put some etch primer on that, and I will hopefully today be painting that with some Raptor coat. I have also painted the sill with stone chip, because that sill was a little bit caved in somewhere around there, and yeah, so that's been repaired, pulled out. Going to the back, this section here, I mean, just everything on this van was just neglect or abuse, so it takes a long time to undo abuse and neglect. So that doesn't look very tidy, that seam sealer, but to be honest, you're never going to see it because there's a full width threshold going in. So as long as it's not rusty and it is protected, we have welded up all the little screw holes in the floor, and that there is Q-rust, all those blackened bits. So I'm just going to put some hammerite paint on that. Alright, time to cut some window apertures on the actual van itself, and I want to do this before we paint the van, obviously because we get some paint around the fresh edges and it's less stuff to paint and prep as well. I decided to use electric file instead. A burr is a little bit brutal, a bit more difficult to control. Okay, so we've got some good progress on the bodywork. Mike's obviously been painting. He's got his first coat primer on it, and looking very much nicer than it was before. So he's obviously primed it, and he's got this line back, and he's dusted it with the guide coat. So he's obviously going to go back and make sure it's all at the right level. It's really nice. Okay, we are at wiring stage. I'm going to run a load of wires for all my services on this van. I've got a list here and I kind of roughly know where everything's going to go. So really know, I've done loads of wiring on these vans before, so main thing is I get the wires run before I fit the pop-up roof strengthening beams, and that just makes life so much easier. And then you'll probably notice it's not been painted yet. Well, actually, I don't think you can see it from there, but it's not been painted yet. So we're just working all that out, and I'm just trying to do as much work in between jobs as possible. And next one up is, of course, the wiring. So I'm going to have my leisure battery under the driver's seat, which is an ideal place for it because it's a good secure zone for it. And that will decide for me where my wires are going to run. Are they going to run up this pillar? Are they going to run down that pillar? So it just depends what the surface is. My unit, my pod, is going to be right here, so there's going to be a lot of wires not going too far, so that's really nice. But the main thing is I'm going to run them and I'm going to label them so that I don't forget what's what. Alright, some progress on the project. As you can see, I have been busy with wiring. An awful lot of extras going in this van, so lots of lights, lots of chargers. I'm presenting some wires down here. This is the passenger side front footwell, wheel arch. I'm going to have puddle lights for the mirrors. I'm going to have ambient lighting in the door cards. I'm going to have an extra charger here, that's a USB. I'm going to have a leisure battery charger on the dash as well, but that's for the voltage level as well. All my wiring routes are, this is the main wiring route. My display panel is going to be here behind the pod. That's the kitchen pod, so just enough space in that little zone there. This is for fridge. All the wiring is protected with sort of that plastic split wrap. Back here we're going to have the consumer unit for the 240 hookup system. That's the hole cut there. Van's still not painted, so I've had to crack on with other stuff. LED lighting for over the bed and for the pop-up roof. Those wires are a little bit long, but I'd rather that than having to join them. That's just a puller cable, that on there that I've got in my hand. And all this wiring here along the side, I've got to leave it hanging because before paint I'm going to actually put this roof, pop-up roof strengthening, so I'm going to be chopping these beams off very soon, and that way I can have the van movable to go into paint, and then I can jack it up and all sorts. And then once it's painted, it'll be much easier to get everything back on. LED lighting there. So yeah, I will now crack on with getting those roof spars cut off, and I can't really do any more wiring until everything starts to go back in. So that's kind of that finished for now. So let's move on to the pop-up roof. Okay, that's a good start. That's the front brace bar in, riveted and sealed. It doesn't have to be too tidy, it never gets seen. Plus I can tidy it up with a knife once it's all dry, front and back. I'll get the sides done the next time I'm in. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed the second part of my restoration of this Volkswagen Transporter van. I am patiently waiting for the Bodywork slot, and hopefully that's not going to be too long. So I am going to now crack on the next section with the front mechanicals. I've also been doing the rear mechanicals, that's done at this stage, and been doing lots of wiring. So do stay tuned and tune in for the next episode.